One of my former clients was going to give me his kidney.
Wow.
Yeah, he was such a good guy. And I just helped him on a couple matters, and he called me with a problem one day, and I was telling him what I was doing. He's like, well, I'll give you my kidney. So I was 4 days away from getting a transplant, and they canceled it. Or the still small voice, right?
Yeah.
That inner voice that is your compass. And for some people, it's a religious revelation thing. For some people, it's finding the core of reason. But if everything's loud all the time, you can't hear it. My meditations is writing my books.
Yeah.
And doing my art. And it's my way of dealing with the stresses of being a business owner and a trial lawyer. I deal with conflict all the time.
You know, when it comes to assisting these people, you know, where do you find your greatest joy with that?
Being their voice.
Being their voice. Hey guys, welcome back to the Two Thumbs Up podcast. Dr. Todd here today. Good morning. Grateful to have you along with us today. I got my buddy here, Christian Burridge. Christian, thanks for jumping on this with us today.
That's great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to. I mean, we've been talking a little bit before we started here, and there's all kinds of spaces we could go down. Why don't we start out a little bit with tell us about you, what you do for a living, and some of the things you're involved with.
I'm Christian. I'm a trial lawyer here in the Utah County area. I represent injured plaintiffs all over the state. I do some consumer rights stuff, bankruptcy stuff. We do some estate planning also because a lot of our clients just need it.
Right.
And so we do a virtual law firm. We've been doing it since COVID, and it's just so much more efficient that we've just stayed on that model.
I love it.
And it's been tremendously successful for us.
Yeah.
So the courts have gone to mostly WebEx
virtual,
now. Last week we picked a jury over the internet.
Wow.
That's the first time we've ever done that. That was kind of interesting.
So you actually go into a physical courtroom doesn't really happen that much anymore.
Yeah, the 3rd District where we tried this case in Salt Lake City, they just said it's so much more convenient for the jurors.
Interesting.
That they're never going back to making people come in and sit around the courthouse on the hard chairs all day. And so, we picked a jury. There was about 80 people.
Do you think that change? This is interesting. Just something came up for me. Do you think that changes people's focus, like on a jury? Do you think, because when I'm at home and I'm attempting to work from home, and maybe I'd get better at it if I practiced it more, but I lose my attention span.
Oh, absolutely. You don't know if they're watching videos on YouTube or playing on their phone, we didn't see what happens behind the scenes. They just introduce the lawyers at a certain part. Maybe they warn them about that. But, when we're picking a jury, we're watching them because we're trying to find bias. But the problem is the interface, you can only see 10 or 20 at a time, and there's an 80-person jury pool.
I see.
And so we're like, we need to have everybody on the staff looking at the different panel, taking notes to see what people's reactions are when certain things come up. But it's highly regulated here in Utah. Most states, they'll have a jury selection for like 3 days. Here it was like a questionnaire that was managed by the judges. It's very tightly regulated. They very regulate the questions we get asked. And at one point we were trying to talk to a juror and they're like, no, there's these yes or no questions. And if they don't say anything out of the ordinary, you can't even talk to them, which I think the citizens of Utah really need to be paying attention to, because we have an open courts provision of the Utah Constitution that gives everybody access to the courts. But the judges in the 3rd District, they are being very tight about it, and they want to control it. 5 of the jurors on this trial, we didn't get to ask questions to. They just sailed through.
And the control is for what purpose?
I think it's judicial convenience. And there are states like California, and it is in the state constitution that you have a right to ferret out bias in the judges.
I see.
And, we look at that and we consider it maybe an issue that needs to be taken up to the Supreme Court, because you have a fundamental right to not have biased jurors.
Absolutely.
And we had 5 jurors that got on this. And in Utah, there's only 8 on the jury. A lot of people, there's 12 because they've seen 12 Angry Men. That's what it is in the federal courts. But in Utah, you just have to get 6 out of 8. But we had 5 jurors get on, and we didn't get to ask them any questions at all, because they have this really tight tight-lipped jury questionnaire, and there's yes or no questions, and then if they don't say anything out of the ordinary on the yes or no, then we didn't even get a chance to follow up.
Do you think there's an advantage there on the plaintiff side or the defense side, or is it still balanced and equal?
It's not equal. We're a very conservative state. There's a lot of tort reformers. There's a lot of people that bend towards the conservative side of the political spectrum, and you have a right to have an unbiased jury. And if your lawyers don't even have a mechanism,
I see,
to ferret out that bias, it's a crapshoot. And I thought we picked a good jury. But it's disturbing that we had people go on and we were just rolling the dice that they could have a bias that we didn't even get a chance to investigate at all.
Yeah, because I think as Americans, as humans, when you're in a situation like that, you want a balanced system, a way of representing one's rights and a way of serving justice.
Right.
And so it just seems like there's a lot of variables that are difficult to navigate.
The devil's in the details, and injustices occur in the nuances, on the really teeny margins, the discrete issues that very hard to find, but they're in there, and they're in the Utah system all over. These are very smart people.
Yeah.
They do this every day. If you're a very active trial lawyer, you might try 3 cases a year, and that means you're very active. And so you get in there, and it's not what you do every day.
Yeah.
When you try a jury trial, think about it this way. You prepare for 3 to 5 years for a play, and there's a script, and everything's supposed to be hammered down. And you get in there, and it's like they tear out half the script and hand you a new one right when you're supposed to go on stage.
Yeah.
And then while you're in there, they're hitting you with spitballs and throwing tomatoes at you, and the floor trap could go out from under you, and the judge could just drop to the curtain at any minute.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to try a jury trial. Very difficult.
Yeah, it actually makes one uncomfortable to figure out and navigate all of those variables.
Well, the jury system is the check on everything. I mean, you can.
Why has that become gospel? We hear about that as citizens, and like, okay, that's the fairest way to do this. But it's almost as if that's become a gospel way of serving justice that seems somewhat antiquated,
very antiquated,
but also over time it's become less balanced.
Yeah, I mean, there's powerful interests that are afraid of juries.
Yeah.
I mean, very big corporations, wrongdoers, evil people, and they don't want to be accountable to it. And
Interesting.
There's all kinds of political forces, and you never know when you're going to need access to justice. You never know. Even some of the most anti-trial lawyer people, I've had those guys of clients. The really conservative people, they hate lawyers, they hate the trial system, except when they get hurt.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they need justice worse than everybody. I've had those clients. And I get it. I mean, everybody is self-interested in one way or another. But, be careful attacking the system. You might need it one day.
Amen. Yeah. So that's why, having information that you share out there and having conscientious lawyers, because over the years, how many, we know a number, right? And so having people that really know the system, that have the ability to take an argument or facts and present them in a way that can deliver the best outcome for somebody is invaluable.
Absolutely.
So why law? When you're growing up, you're a kid, you're loving your life, and you're like, I'm going to law school.
I was good at public speaking as a kid, and so I had a debate scholarship at a school in Northern California, and we were nationally competitive, and we were very dominant in California where I went to college. And I just thought, I like public speaking. I'll be a trial lawyer. Thing is, you don't go to trial as much as you'd like.
3 times a year, maybe.
If you're really active.
Yeah.
I push a lot of paper, and
Camille assists you with. She's excellent. Camille's sitting here. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
She's my fixer. She doesn't have a job description. Her job description is she has no job description.
Yes.
So she was at the trial with us last week, and we needed a document, and she would run down the library, and it would get printed, and we'd have an exhibit sitting there. So She's just whatever the problem is. That's her job. She's like the room of requirement in Harry Potter.
So you grew up in Northern California?
No, I grew up in Utah. I went to Bingham High School.
Oh, you went to Bingham. So you end up in California going to law school.
No, I went to Snow College, and I was a national champion public speaker at Snow College.
I see.
And then I went to a tournament in Northern California, and I won like 8 events. And University of Pacific, where I went to college, which has a law school, but I didn't go to their law school.
Yeah, I'm an Oregon kid.
Yeah. They saw me, and they offered me a scholarship. So I went there and studied philosophy at UOP. Yeah. And then ended up at BYU Law School.
Awesome. So what is it then? What would you say, because there's a unique mind that quick thinker. It's one of the reasons I love comedians. They are so quick, like their brains work at a different frequency, a different way of seeing the world. What would you say about, because we're going to jump into your books here in a few minutes, but what is it about your mind that you say you had this gift early on? Because a lot, as you know, some folks don't have that.
No, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, the car salesman. There's born car salesmen, you know, and I say I'm not above being a car salesman. I respect car salesmen.
Amen. Yeah.
I respect people in sales. I did write a book about car salesmen, though. It's a consumer rights book on how to buy a car, called Fortress Builder: How to Buy a Car. But it's okay to be good at closing and sales. I admire all salespeople. It takes a lot of courage to be good at sales, and it makes the world go round. But there's a lot of scams out there too. There's a lot of bad products out there, and there's a lot of good products out there. But being a good salesman or salesperson makes you a good consumer too, because if you kind of know the sales tactics,
right,
you can protect yourself as a consumer.
And what's that book called you wrote regarding that?
It's like the blue. I can't remember what I named it exactly, but it's like I have a Fortress Builder series of book, and it's how to buy a car. I have another book that's how to fix your credit. In the process of, I'm writing one about how to buy a house. So it's just to empower consumers, because you can get mowed over at the car dealership.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that.
Well, it's almost like you just, as a consumer, you just like, this is just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You may as well just go in there and know that, right?
In that book, I took Zig Ziglar's, all his closings, and I gave the consumer a response.
Awesome.
So that you can identify all the little things. And then I researched a lot of the car dealer tricks, about, we're just going to go out of business tomorrow if we don't make any money on this car deal. And you look around, and
they're everywhere.
It's like a palace,
Yeah.
And they're just sweating it, on this one car deal, And so it goes through that. Camille actually used the book when she went bought a car. And how much money did you save on that? $6,000. She saved $6,000 on her car purchase. Yeah,
awesome.
And you want, the car dealerships don't want this out there, but it's. I think it's still in final production right now. We're about to put it up on Amazon.
How many books have you written?
4. So I have a credit repair book, how to fix your own credit, and then how to buy a car. And then I have this philosophy book called The Stoic Mind. It's for business leaders. It's for everybody, really. But I was struggling as a business owner to deal with my.
We'll put these on the links on the podcast. But
and so it was. So Marcus Aurelius, a lot of people know this famous emperor of Rome. He would do an exercise called the Meditations. He would it was a secret private journal. And when he died, they found it and it got published. And it's been very famous in history. Ryan Halliday writes a lot about it. He's really famous Stoic writer. But the meditations that came from Marcus Aurelius is a practice that I do. And so my meditations is writing my books.
Yeah.
And doing my art. And it's my way of dealing with the stresses of being a business owner and a trial lawyer. I deal with conflict all the time. And I've had my own mental health, issues, and I found that by exercising Stoic meditations, I'm able to filter the garbage out from the good stuff. It helps me make decisions. I write in my book about having Stoic intermediaries in your life. Pause. Don't just make impulsive, emotional decisions. Have Stoic intermediaries in your life. I have a lawyer in my firm. I don't make any decisions until I go through him, especially when I get hot on something, or maybe your spouse or your girlfriend or one of your kids or a best friend, or look at things like you would a year from now. or realize that you're hot right now and say,
So
I'm not
let
making a decision.
me talk. Let's ask a question about that, because I've experienced this just even recently, where
Yeah.
that hot thing, where I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on with this world? And that ability to take the grand pause, that heartbeat, the space between a heartbeat, that nothingness, and to be able to tap back into that. And so you have you call it mentors or stoic.
I call them stoic intermediary.
Intermediaries.
You if you're like, say you're in a legal problem, you shouldn't be making your own decisions. I've had legal problems. I've been in lawsuits. I'm a lawyer and I think, oh yeah, I can fix this. No, I'm too hot, man. You need a stoic intermediary. You need somebody to talk for you, even though I would think I should talk for myself. No, I cannot.
Because behind that there's anger, frustration, fear, resentment, possibly. It's one of the reasons I feel like having someone in your life that you can actually have your children talk to, like my kids, like it's too close.
It's too close.
And yet having someone that I trust, hey, Randy, could you call my son?
Yes.
Or, or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, see, people think when they hear stoicism, they think of like Spock, from Star Trek,
Right.
And this guy that never has any emotion. But when you read the Stoics, it's not like that. We're humans. We get to be emotional. We get to be passionate, and that's part of it.
Well, you look at Marcus Aurelius. Talk about passion.
Yeah, I mean, he's at war.
Yeah.
He's dealing with bullshit every day. I mean, that's what he talks about. He's like, every day I know that the charlatans and all the people are going to come in and try to con me and use my power. And how do I dispense justice? And it's through these principles in his meditations that he explains how he does that. And so it's okay to be angry. It's just recognize it, that you're angry, and your decisions should not be based on that.
You're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I love it.
Or you're grieving, or you're tired, or whatever. And so there's different exercises in my book that you can do on a daily basis to really dial in your mind, because your mind controls your reality. And so it first talks about limiting your inputs, get rid of toxic inputs. I call it mental malware. I mean, you sit and watch a football game. They're downloading their malware on you. They want you to order pizza and beer and all this unhealthy stuff. And they are designed to influence your behavior. They know they do, or they would not spend billions on it. So you clear all that stuff out of your mind, and then you focus on things that are productive for you. Read a philosophy book. Watch a documentary about something that's healthy. Read books on your health. Then you're sovereign. You're controlling the operating system of your life instead of letting all these evil outside forces download their malware into your brain. And so the whole point is being a sovereign individual, and it starts with your mind.
And I get what you mean. Explain what you mean to be sovereign. And I love the word, because it is the ultimate freedom.
Yeah.
So how would you describe that in your words?
So a sovereign, it's a 50-cent word. Some people may or may not know what it means, but like you would address the Queen of England as the sovereign of England. She answers to no one, right? When you're mentally sovereign, you answer to no one but yourself. But if you have a bunch of mental malware downloaded, whether it's from TikTok or television, or even some people could say institutional learning, thinking, I have a college degree, I must be educated. Well, there's institutional bias.
The medical establishment.
The law school establishment. I mean, the law school system is set up to get first-year associate jobs for people.
Public education. Churches.
Yeah, and so you really want to clear out your mind away from all these evil forces that are trying to control you. And you look at the masses, they're being controlled. I mean, it's clear. You see the behavior of it. And when you're running an organization, when you're responsible for a lot of people, and you want to make clear decisions, you have a responsibility to your employees and your family to make sure that you're not being unjustly influenced by others. And so you have these exercises to control the gates of your mind. And I talk about in the book is you can only have one thing going on in the theater of your mind at any time. And what you spend that theater on is what you become. So if you're constantly reading or watching about distractions to placate whatever boredom or hurt you have, you're going to be controlled by that consumption.
I love the aspects of what you're just talking about and the metabolic response in the body, the dopamine hit, or the adrenal cortex firing where you're stressed. You get the sympathetic response and you got the parasympathetic response. And all of that has to do with these influences that come into this from our environment. And how am I going to process that information? Am I going to take that information and listen to the wise meditations of Marcus Aurelius, or am I going to get fired up, pissed off, where now I'm getting adrenal fatigue, I'm going to get a cortisol release, I'm going to add fat to my belly, and to me, there's that other, I get fired up about that too. I'm like, wait a second here, Todd. Am I going to swim in the water and sink? This is where the parable comes back to me, the walking on water with Peter. It's like, wait a second here. There is a storm about.
Or the still small voice, right?
Yeah.
That inner voice that is your compass, and for some people it's a religious revelation thing. For some people it's finding the core of reason. But if everything's loud all the time, you can't hear it.
And then the physiological response. What happens to the kidney? What happens to the heart rate? What happens to... There's that happening and I am including in my life where I have been unconscious to, and I'm learning more about my own metabolics, my own system. When I have that information come on, how do I feel? What's happening? Well, I'm perspiring. My heart is racing. I have this constant I love the duality of the parasympathetic, the rest, the chill, the stoicism, the things you're describing, but then there's the other sympathetic response. It's like, no, I get to be conscious right now, fired up and take action. It's like the lion feeding in the Serengeti. You know, most of the time they're chilling.
Well,
right?
You talk about the lion, right?
Yeah.
So you confront the lion. What happens? The fight or flight kicks in. The inflammation. And all these messages, they've never been more powerful. You've got these technocrats now, the Facebooks and the TikToks, and they know how to dial in those dopamine hits and addict us to their apps and their phones. And then it gets more powerful because then the political influences get slipped in there. And next thing you know, you just think you're watching the news, and now you're marching at the rally, or you're storming the Capitol, or, whatever. And it's like, do you stop and think about who's telling you to do what? And then you go back to that sovereignty. Are you free? Are you in control of your mind, or is someone controlling yours? And so as a leader, when you're trying to make decisions, are you doing an internal audit that your decisions are based on other people's messaging or propaganda, or your own value system that is in accord with your goals of where you want your life to be?
Which is what I'm hearing is that, you mentioned it earlier, is that pause. It's like you're describing the pause. So take emotional, mental, spiritual, inventory of what am I doing right now?
Yeah, I do a daily Stoic retreat every day. And I'm lucky. My kids are mostly grown. I'm a bachelor. I have free time to just go out on the deck or sit in the hot tub or go for a walk or ride my bike up the canyon and process the day and try to dial in of whether I'm being manipulated or whether I'm furthering my own goals, my own value system. And I found as I did that, I was really a lot better at getting successful in my business because I was dialing in on what was my agenda. And not the agenda of others.
And what comes out the other side of that is joy. Is that a
joy,
joyful?
contentment, yeah,
peace,
and really you can have this dialed in approach. And really, when you manage your inputs, you exponentially control your outputs.
Absolutely,
exponentially.
Love it. You talk about abundance,
and then the abundance comes.
Flows. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So, this book I gave you, The Washing of the Waters, this was my kidney transplant story. I was on dialysis for 61 months. My life was a mess. My marriage fell apart. Both of us, it was just really hard for us to stay together. I mean, I don't like to cast shade or throw, anything towards my ex, but by the time we got through that, we were just both in shambles. And it wreaked havoc on our lives. And I was broke. I was up to my ears in debt, and I changed law firms, and I had to start a brand new law firm out of nothing. And it was the resiliency that I learned. There was a time when I was on dialysis. I didn't know if I was going to make it.
So can we back up in time a little bit?
Yeah, we can back up in time.
You and Camille mentioned this when we were at lunch, and I've known you a while, and thanks for sharing this, by the way. This is what I love about doing this podcast, is I love diving when people are vulnerable to share their life experience. It is actually one of the greatest gifts that someone could share, is what you experienced and what you learned from it. So backing up in time a little bit here, you at some point developed some kidney difficulties.
Yeah, so in this book, The Washing of the Waters, this is my story. It starts about me trying to get into West Point. And my dad was a command sergeant major out at Camp Williams, and I really didn't have a choice. I was joining the military. I mean, that's how I was raised. And I went up to MEPS at Fort Douglas. That's where they screen you to see if you can, join the Army. And they flagged this kidney protein in my urine when I was 17. So I always knew I had this kidney condition, but I didn't quite understand it. And basically what my condition is my body produces a protein called complement, which is supposed to complement your antibodies when you get sick. Most people, it starts up, it helps you heal, and then it stops. In me, I have a mutation. It doesn't stop. And it's kind of a rough protein, so it rips out the filters of the kidney over time. So by the time I'm 39, I'm in kidney failure, and I'm on dialysis.
Bilateral?
Yeah, both of them were gone. And I basically was on dialysis for 61 months, and I had to work full time.
5 years.
And it's worse than cancer. I mean, it's really hard. 3 days a week on the machine, 4 hours and 15 minutes, plus the hookup and the takedown. It's like a part-time job. Then you're just flushed out and wiped out for, the next day. And then right when you start feeling good again, it's time to go get hooked up again.
And this dialysis, how old were you?
I was 39 when I went on. I'm 50 now. And so it just wreaked havoc on our family. And I mean, and we have a sweet little family, and we were tight during those times, but it was incredibly difficult. It wreaked havoc on us financially, and just even relationship wise, it was really hard. And finally, I was a couple years into it, and I almost got a transplant. But that's when they flagged this condition, and they said, there's a new medicine, but we won't let you have a live donor. So I was 4 days away from getting a transplant, and they canceled it.
So in this condition, if you got a transplant, and I know you eventually got one, because of your, for lack of a better word, sort of an autoimmune genetic disposition, does this medication suppress that so it doesn't damage the new kidney?
So there's a smoking gun medication now that fixes it, and I'm on it.
Beauty.
So I'm 6 years post-transplant. My labs are great now, and
awesome.
I feel great.
So it subdues that autoimmune response or that inflammatory.
It's a complement blocker. It blocks the complement from going. And
beautiful.
So
that's the stuff I love about medicine.
Medicine's so cool.
I love it. Yeah.
Medicine's so cool. And so I got close to the transplant. One of my former clients was going to give me his kidney.
Wow.
Yeah, he was such a good guy. And I just helped him on a couple matters, and he called me with a problem one day, and I was telling him what I was doing. He's like, well, I'll give you my kidney.
Oh.
And we got 4 days away, and they canceled it. And I was about 2 years into dialysis. And then I didn't know then, but it was going to be another 3 years of hell. And there were some dark times, and I had to make these rules, no pity parties, because the negativity doesn't do anything. But I had a really rough night when I was about to be done. I didn't see a way out. I had these insurance issues. I had gained a ton of weight. I got kicked off the transplant list. I couldn't lose the weight because I was so...
Yeah, your ascites, fluid, all this stuff.
Yeah, and I just didn't have any energy to work out. I couldn't work out at a gym because I was so lightheaded. I'd maybe faint and pass out, hit my head. And it was just like the Shawshank Redemption. I was like, okay, let's consider death, man. I don't know. And then I just had my kids, I just came down to my kids. And it was just like the Shawshank Redemption. It was just like, get busy living or get busy dying, man. Yeah. And I chose to live that night.
Beauty.
And then I remembered some stuff that I learned in college when I studied philosophy, and it was the stoicism stuff. And there's this guy named James Stockdale. He was the vice presidential candidate with Ross Perot.
Oh, yeah.
And
I remember that name now. Yeah.
But he's actually
Ross Perot.
Yeah, Ross Perot. And he's really famous, though, for being a fighter pilot, a naval fighter pilot that got shot down in Vietnam. And he's in that Hanoi Hilton movie. He's a character in it. And he was a Stanford philosophy major before he went to Vietnam. And he's famous for what's called the Stockdale paradox. And I write about it in my book. And that was the secret sauce for my survival, was the Stockdale paradox. Now, I didn't go to POW camp.
Can you outline it a little bit?
Yeah.
And I'm going to dive. I've never heard of the Stockdale.
The Stockdale paradox basically stands for the proposition that you have you confront your ultimate reality with the most honesty that you can have. You have a no shit assessment of your problem. You embrace your problem. A lot of people live in denial. They don't want to embrace their issue, but that's the first thing you have to have. You have to embrace your condition that you're in, no matter what. But at the same time, on the other side of that paradox, is you have ultimate faith that you will prevail in the outcome.
I love it.
And so I'm in this situation where I can't lose weight. I'm dragging all the time. I need to lose weight to get back on the transplant list. And I just realized I'm going to swim because I didn't have that lightheadedness in the water. And so I start swimming. I'm just bored out of my mind. My brain's pretty active. I have ADD, and I'm just always thinking about 15 things. I get in the pool, and you just get in there for like 5 minutes, and it just thinks like it's going to take forever. And one day I was in the pool, and I saw this guy using a snorkel, and he had headphones in the water. And I was like, what is that? And because I couldn't do the breathing either. I was too old. Well, you're never too old to learn, but I was having a hard time learning the strokes. And so I just got the snorkel and the headphones, and then I could listen to podcasts or I could listen to music. And next thing you know, I'm going an hour, and then weights start coming off. And that was the Stockdale paradox, because I just had to have faith that I was going to do it. And I had to believe I was going to get the transplant, even though I did not know how it was going to happen. Just like walking on the water, you just believe.
The faith of it all.
You have to have faith. And I don't care if you're religious or secular.
And what does that mean, though? Because there's faith from the religious piece, but you're describing a different faith.
It's a different faith. It's that, and here's the philosophical.
It's almost like I know that I know. That, like, I know the other side of this.
Well, and it's almost cool to say I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
Because in the way
that's embracing, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and the way I think about it is I'm a finite being. I don't know everything. Look how vast the universe is.
Yeah.
And it's having those meditations in your now point. That's why it's important to sit and look at the now and see that there's galaxies out there. There's little teeny atomic nano things going on. And you sit in your now point and you absorb it, because that helps you embrace your reality. And instead of always dealing with distraction or placation or being entertained, no, you need quiet time by yourself so you can embrace your now. And that's how I describe my art, is you have a now point. So you can take the same picture of the same mountain every day, but it's different. And so as you get in your now point and you embrace your reality, then you start to know who you are and see what your reality is so that you can embrace it, but then realize you're finite and the universe is way bigger than you. So just because I couldn't see a way through at that point, it didn't mean that there wasn't a solution. And that's the faith. I have to believe that I don't know, but there is a solution out there. And as long as I believe it, I'm more likely to have that abundance or that solution come to me than if I'm having a pity party or I have a bad attitude or I'm blaming things on everybody else but me.
I know that I don't know.
I know that I don't know. Mm-hmm. And in the Stockdale paradox, as long as I believe there's a way through, I'm way more likely to get it.
And that's where the infinite possibility shows up.
Absolutely.
In the I know that I don't know. That's the humility and getting rid of personal hubris. Like, no, there is a way. The Tao. There's a way, and I know that I will find the way, or I will see the way.
It'll come to you.
Yeah.
But so, for instance, when you have anger management problems and you let something get angry and you blow up a situation, you walk away. You miss all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you stay calm and you have faith in the ultimate outcome, there's another level.
I love it.
And that's how you level up. You find that a level because you're patient. You have an assessment of the reality. You have a no shit conversation with yourself about what the problem is, and then calm and wait for it.
I always tell myself my ego will do nothing until it's tired of my own bullshit.
Correct.
I'm like, dude, why are you doing this again?
Yeah.
And that's why I love swimming too. I'm a swimmer, and I told you that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you were a swimmer. I love it. Talk to me about your experience with water, because I've had these experiences with water that is so transcendent. To tell me what your...
So I love water. All my hobbies really revolve around water. I scuba dive. I get out on my Sea-Doo. I fish. I like to swim, because the water is more powerful than you, and you're vulnerable in the water, and it makes you be humble, right? When you're scuba diving down 60 feet at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, you're a goner if you make a mistake, but it helps you see the vastness of the world. Or when you're doing laps, you can come out of the water at any time, but it reminds you of your vulnerability.
And when your experience with water, when you're swimming, for example, and you begin to fight the water, what happens?
Yeah, there's a flow to it, right?
There's a flow to it. There's a dance.
And there's a draft, right?
There's a draft.
You
it'll
fight.
Push you. It'll pull you. It'll sustain you. It sustains me. But when my rhythm is even faulty for, that's not. It's like, hey, and the water says, okay, you want to play it this way, or I can say I am water, and then it says, oh, you want to play it that way. I'm like, yeah, I want to play it this way.
But we come from the water, right?
Yeah.
We evolved out of the water. When we were babies, we were in the water for 9 months. We know the water. We breathe the water in the womb. Water is part of us. We are mostly water. We're 70% water. That's why I call my book The Washing of the Waters.
I love it.
Because it was the metaphor. Yeah, it's the kidneys wash the waters, but there's a baptismal thing. And whether it's, we're baptized in the water when we're religious. But you can also have that immersion in the water, or scuba diving or swimming or being out on the earth. The earth is mostly water. That's what makes earth rare, is the water. It's really valuable, and we're part of it. That's why we should drink water all the time. But that metaphor to me is what helps me be stoic, is the water is the tool to help me stay humble.
And if you look at some of these ancient philosophies or ideas or ways of being in the Tao and in the teachings of Yeshua and the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and on and on and on, water is a central theme to many, perhaps all.
Yeah. There's metaphors in the Bible about water.
Yeah.
You have the flood. You have Jesus walking on the water.
You mentioned baptism.
I
mean, there's so many things. Even the piercing of his side, water flowed out. It's like
that's right.
Like, whoa, look at all of these, and so there's teaching in the water,
lessons. Yeah, and so like when I swim, I come up with my best litigation ideas. The evil stuff I wanted to do they come to me in the water or out on the lake. And I talk about stoic retreats in my book, and you talk about pause. Sometimes it's a pause, but sometimes it's just your daily time where you assess the day. Yeah. And I live on the water, so I like to look at the water, and it just inspires me. But there's times I'm out on the water on my boat, or I'm diving. And that's how I clear my mind. I do a week-long stoic retreat because I get in my ruts in my litigation or my lawsuits or whatever, and I just start going crazy. And then I go out, and you go out in the water, you go down 60 feet, and you can just feel the crushing power of it and the waves. And like scuba diving is a good metaphor because, when you first start to dive, you jump in the water, you're like, and you're just going through your tank really fast. And you watch the master divers, and they keep their arms folded, and they just breathe slow, and they let the water carry them. They don't swim. They find the current, and they just let it flow. and then their tank lasts twice as long or 3 because they're not breathing. They're probably filling their lungs maybe 2 or 3 times a minute. Whereas if you fight it and you're just in there like kicking and paddling and you're going to be back up in a minute because your tank's gone. And so it's
are you burning through your tank in your life, right? Like,
yeah. And so when you've got all these people telling what you to do, downloading their mental malware, and you're working for them,
Yeah. I want to read. This is a very you just handed this to me today, and I just read the very first like in the intro. I just want to read this if that's okay, really quick. It's right here, real fast, and it just hit me. A note on water, like right here. Throughout this book, water serves as both reality and metaphor. The failing filters of my kidneys, the mechanical cleansing of dialysis, the swimming that saved my sanity, the scuba diving that celebrated my rebirth, all involve water in its literal form. But water also represents something deeper, the flow of life itself, the cleansing of what no longer serves us, the buoyancy that supports us when we surrender control, the power that reshapes landscapes over time, the persistence that overcomes any obstacle. As I read, I invite you to consider the waters in your own life, both those that threaten to drown you and those that might ultimately save you, because the washing is waiting. Are you ready to dive in? I love that. Christian, this is yes. Excellent. Beautiful. The Washing of the Waters, Christian Burridge. A Journey Through Kidney Failure, Stoicism, and Rebirth. I love that. Like, that just hit my heart. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a rough road, but looking back at it, it was necessary.
Yeah.
And we all have our life challenges. People have gone through way worse than me. Mine was pretty rough. But I'm a professional person, I'm a lawyer. I live with relative advantage in the world. A lot of people that I was in the dialysis center with, I mean, it was rough. It was a lot more rough for them. Or I do infusion at the cancer place. I still get medicine, and I see all the chemo patients there. And you're going to have a life crisis.
Yeah.
And you can do it the hard way, or you can do it the way that is a little easier. I wish I had my book at the beginning. It would have saved me a lot of mental anguish and problems.
But what's interesting to me is I always liken it to the valley of the shadow of death. It's like, or the shadow, the kidney failure, the shadow, that dark nights of the soul, or whatever you want to call it. To me, it's the same thing. But the emergence from that is where all that wisdom and ideas and gratitude flow out of from the darkness. That's the paradox of it all. We want to I've always want to avoid the deep water, but in the deep water, maybe that's the greatest lessons.
The lessons are in the deep water. I have a respect to death. I don't ever want to try to belittle death. It's all coming for us. And that's part of Stoic philosophy, of just always remembering you can die, and you want to live every day like death could come at any time. There were a few times I stared it right there, and I just bowed my head and was respectful. But there are other times when I now have big problems or big fights in my lawsuits and horrible things are happening. And I'm like, it's not as bad as staring at death.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let them bully me, because they're not nearly as scary as some of the things I've seen.
You described a situation you just recently went through, and the variables associated with standing with somebody, especially in the field we're in with the injury stuff. It's like standing with someone that has legitimate causation and legitimate life changes, whether physical, neurological, all of the above, right? What do you see with that? And when it comes to assisting these people, where do you find your greatest joy with that?
Being their voice. And like, that's my talent. I'm a good speaker. I went through school on a debate scholarship. People ask me how I can do voices. I can do like almost any voice. I'm the youngest of my family, and by the time I came around, my parents were like, just raise yourself, So I was raised on television in the 80s, And I think that's why my vocabulary scores were really high. It wasn't because I'm super smart. It was just I watched a lot of television as a kid, so I knew what the words meant.
Yeah.
But I can speak for others, and so that's my job as a lawyer. I can articulate very difficult concepts. You have to know the law. You have to know litigation. You have to know insurance law. And then I didn't study anatomy or any science stuff in school, but I have to argue brain science in court. It's really hard. Or I have to get experts to come in, but then get the experts to explain it to lay people in a way that's understandable. But there's nothing more complicated than the brain.
Yeah.
And so to litigate the brain is extremely difficult. And a lot of these injuries get missed because of that. And you know that in your practice. They're discrete. And the insurance defense side, they exploit that, the difficulty of it. And they try to cast doubt and shade. And their biggest weapon is the gap in
Shadows.
Shadows, the darkness.
Yeah.
They like confusion. They're the enemies of clarity. But when you have truth, you have clarity. So if you're confused, and if someone's confusing you, are they casting light or are they casting darkness? You know?
Interesting.
We plaintiffs, we want things clear. We want things easy to understand. The defense, they do a great job. Oh, well, you didn't go to the concussion doctor for 6 months. You must be faking your injury. Well, people are just living their lives. They don't know what's wrong with them. The closing argument in the case, basically my theme was, who in their life wants their life described through their medical records?
Yeah.
You guys know how the medical records get made.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
I mean, these people, you have your software system. Some of it's kind of already default. It's fill in the blank. Sometimes it goes from the assistant to the PA to the physician and somehow ends up in the medical records. But the way these defense lawyers like to portray medical records in trial, it's like, it's the doomsday book. It's the only thing that matters. And I got up in the closing argument and I said, can we talk about reality? Or are we going to live in this little sphere of defining a human value and their worth based on, an imperfect medical record gathering system? Because that's usually all the defense has, is they just go through your records and they try to pinpoint inaccuracies and then deceive the jury. That's one of their main tactics.
Fascinating.
And so, you talk to physicians and they know that, sometimes stuff doesn't end up 100% right because it's hearsay upon hearsay upon hearsay, and then it ends up in the medical records. But the rules of evidence in court, they come in, and the defense lawyers like to treat them like they're the gospel truth. And then they try to find out inconsistencies. Like one thing they'll do is say, oh, well, you were having headaches, but when you went to the endocrinologist, you never talked about your headaches. Oh, or when you went to the gynecologist, you didn't talk about your headaches. Well, I'm not at the gynecologist because of my headaches.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be lying. I mean, everybody that would go to the gynecologist would talk about their headaches. And that's the shit they pull at trial. Yeah.
Yeah, to be their voice, to stand with them when, there's all these rules and variables that they have no idea about.
They don't know. And so you have, and that's a big burden, is that you've got this hurt person, and then you're like, am I going to adequately be their voice today?
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Yeah,
brother, there's things, when are you going to start your own podcast? Because all of these things you're describing are so valuable. I mean, I love them, and I love the way you see it, and the way the way all the things you've learned and what you're experiencing. So, yeah,
I need to.
Camille, let's make that. Yeah, you're welcome on our. I would love to do a standing monthly Christian Burridge sesh.
Yeah, let's do it. We have lots of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, brother, there's so many things. I mean, even the brain injury space and what's going on there, and what you describe when it comes to these injuries that you see a lot of. Like, historically, there was no correlation between an injury and the brain, because there's no CT scan, there's no MRI, it's like, no, and this is this person's experience. So there's this discount thing. Hey, let's just rub some dirt on it and get back in the game.
Yeah. No, they attack the 3D TI MRIs big time. They do not like these. Yeah. They were like, these the expert testified to, 3D TI MRIs, and you may want to explain this a little bit better. they are not used in clinical practice. That's what their witness
Well, the
said.
diffuse tensor, but that's where we're at, though. That's the best we have.
Well, they don't like the new technology, so they throw shade at it.
Yeah.
Because they hate it, because they know as we find these discrete brain injuries, which your clinic is kind of my go-to to find this stuff. It's very rare to have cooperative.
They actually don't want the science to be there.
They don't want it.
Because it's going to cost a heap of dollars.
Well, 15, 20 years ago when I started being an injury lawyer, most of the cases were chiro because the people could not afford to get the imaging on the neck and the back. They couldn't get a brain MRI. They're now attacking the liens in the case law. That came up in the trial. We could maybe do another session on how they were doing that.
Interesting.
And they don't want consumers to have the access to care. So they're attacking it in the courts. They're trying to attack it through the case law because they know if the DTI stuff comes in, we're going to be able to prove the brain injuries easier.
So this is another lesson for the consumer. Find a Christian Burridge. You've been in this situation. Find a Christian Burridge and stand up for yourself. Because if they acquiesce and they get into a system there's a lot of attorneys out there that just want to settle these things and move on to the next one. Find someone that's going to go to stand by you, be your voice, dig deep, because otherwise they're going to get lambasted, railroaded.
You get railroaded.
Totally.
Yeah. They get together, they have defense lawyer conferences, and this is what they talk about.
Interesting.
And they are afraid of the objective evidence. But when you don't have that objective evidence, they're hitting you over the head with it. It doesn't matter. Heads I win, tails you lose, man.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
For the consumer that's been in a situation like this, they don't know what they're up against.
No. They do not.
Brother, it's as advocates for the community on the health side and on the legal side, I always like, hey, find someone that's going to assist you.
It's I think as difficult of a legal practice as you can think of because you have to basically have a brain expert and a lawyer and a litigator, and it's a very discrete issue, but these are lifelong injuries that people have, and they are hell. My guy testified that he has to go to work to get enough money to pay for his Botox injections for his migraine headaches so that he can get enough money to go back to work. And he's in this hamster wheel, I called it. And in my closing argument, I called it, he was on the hamster wheel of hell. And somebody needed to give him the money to get off of it because he didn't cause these migraines.
It's interesting we hear this a lot in the athlete space and in the motor vehicle accident space that I've talked to some neurologists about this, and a lot of times they say when someone has a concussion, severity-wise, the first year they may lose their job. The second year, they may lose their marriage. And in the third year, they may lose their life because their brain isn't able to do what it's got to do to be involved in all of those things. The job, the marriage, the life, and I feel like, and that's one of the reasons we're super passionate about this is because we got to do something different,
Well, if you think of all the things that we know of in the universe, is there anything more remarkable than the human brain?
Oh my gosh, it's miraculous.
It's miraculous.
I don't use and when I say this word, it's not what you experience. It's magical. It's beyond magical. If that's even a word to describe it, there's so much beauty and rhythm and balance from endocrine to the endocrine system to the ability for it to light up in certain situations and have a response here, and to the autonomic, all the cranial nerves and how they give us eyesight and how they allow us to hear, how we can touch, to have this experience called life because of the human brain, just even the cranial nerves of themselves. And oftentimes in a balance, cognition, speech, it's like, wait, all of those things, and then you hear about these things in these injuries where you get neuronal shearing. Well, what that means is literally tearing of neurons, or tearing of small tears in the optic nerve, or in the auditory nerve, or the vestibular, all of these. It's like, wait a minute here, this is really happening to people. And so to assist people with the human brain and And it's also the beauty of it too. It's highly neuroplastic.
It's adaptable.
It's adaptable.
It's adaptable. That's the amazing
resilient,
thing about
yeah.
it. And that's why in my Stoic mind, I say, why would you let all this mental malware of all your assets, your house, your car, your body, your most valuable thing is your mind. Take care of it. Don't let people download their agendas into it. Keep it clean. You will find clarity and power that you've never imagined. And you can change the plane of your existence through your mind. It's so powerful. You have to take care of it.
Kiss you on the face, man. That is beautiful. That is
take care of your brain.
Take care of your brain.
There's out of all the stuff you spend all your time, going to trying to make money and do all this stuff. But how much time do you think about? Am I taking care of my brain?
My buddy, you'll have to meet him. You'd love him. His name is Mike Hargraves. He's been on the show twice. He's had a stroke 7 years ago. And I said, after all of this, bad stroke, big time stroke, what would you say you're most grateful for? He goes, and he made me cry. He goes, my brain.
So true. You do not perceive anything. Your whole existence is because of your brain. Take care of it. And guard the gates of your brain. And I talk all about it in the Stoic mind. You guard the gates of your brain. I love it.
The Stoic mind, folks. The washing of the waters. And I'm going to pour through these. And yeah, beautiful. I love it. Christian, thank you for coming on the Two Thumbs Up podcast.
Having me.
I would love
place.
to. Seriously, that's thank you. Very grateful.
What a fun discussion.
Yeah, I love it. And this is what we love about it. It's like whatever happens. There's no agenda here. And thank you for sharing and being vulnerable to share your experience, your story, your wisdom, where you're at, what you do. It's invaluable, and I am grateful for you and for.
And I too. You are a healer in the community, and you guys are the best. You are the best healers in the community.
Thank you, brother.
Any client that I have, you're my first call, and I've been your patient.
Yeah, you have. That's right. Yeah,
I had a concussion on the freeway,
Yeah.
and you guys fixed me.
Good.
And I still have a little stuff, but you guys, I got in fast, and who knows what would have happened if I didn't get that care early.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for healing me. You guys are healers.
Yeah, we love it. We love what we do. But folks, thanks for tuning into Two Thumbs Up podcast. Christian Burridge, his law firm, look him up. What's the websites and the?
We're called the Action Firm now.
The Action Firm. Oh, I heard that. That's great.
Yeah. Because we file legal actions.
Yeah, I love it. Taking action. Yeah, and Camille, you're part of this. We'll get you on sometime too. She's here, but folks, we're grateful for you. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.
Yeah, check these books out. We'll absolutely put them on the link here. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.